Hello, Zoe here, welcome back to the Scrappery channel. Today I am working with the Bpk kit Esta. Bpk kit, or BPK actually, gosh. So, I am just actually using the 6x6 poolside pad that I had. I've got some scraps in there that I want to use, which match the papers from the TSK kit Summer. I keep saying kit, oh my goodness me. The TSK Summer, I'm using some of the papers from that, but I also have some scraps that match it, so I'm using those too. My gosh, that was hard. That shouldn't have been that hard. Whew. It's going to be one of those evenings, I can feel it. Anyway, I'm just layering up some papers and some scraps here. I looked at the paint that came in the Bpk kit, the Dina Wakley, I think it's heavy body acrylic paint, and the colour of that brought to mind this picture of me and my husband. This was taken a few years ago when he was pre-manly beard, and we went to an 80s party. So it's very neon. We were dressed very, very neon, because in my head that's how everybody dressed in the 80s. I was very young in the 80s, so that's what I'm going with, and nobody can stop me. Anyway, we went to an 80s party, all dressed in neon, and we had this picture taken, and the tangerine paint reminded me of the glasses my husband's wearing, which kind of led me to this 80s-tastic layout. It's possibly the brightest layout I've ever done, but there you go. So I'm just stapling those layers together because it's the easiest way to keep them together. Grabbing the doily, the orange doily that matches the paint perfectly. And as ever, I'm going to faff around with it and try the hearts. I don't actually end up using those. So I'm going to get a Prima stencil, and I think I use the picked raspberry distress ink to create some triangles here. And you can see I messed up there, so I'm just fixing it as ever, because, you know, I said I didn't have mishaps and now I have them all the time. It's karma. I should not have said that in my Meet the CT video, because since then I've had nothing but mishaps. In fact, I have two quite major ones in this as well, so let's see if we can spot them. And now I'm just grabbing, I think that's a Simon Says Stamp stencil, and I'm going to use fossilised amber. I think it's called fossilised amber, but it's a perfect match to the poolside paper I was using to create layers with. It's sort of a muted yellow, which isn't as neon as is in the picture, but I'm going to use the tangerine to bring the neon in, so I thought it would work. Excuse me. I'm just checking the placement before I bring in the Amy Tan stencil, and about, I don't know, half a tree's worth of post-it notes. Trying desperately not to ruin the rest of the layout, because inevitably I would have done. I'm just using a makeup sponge actually to dab the paint on. I find them really inexpensive when I'm working with paint and stencils, and they work really, really well. The paint just smears if you try to use like a card or a palette knife. So this way you get no smear, and bonus, it's pretty much dry instantly, so I find that very useful. You can see it's very bright paint, which is really, really cool for this layout. It's a beautiful paint as well, really good quality. I'm just checking my layers again. I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to start faffing with the rest of it again. I'm just sticking my photo down. And I'm going to tear the edge of the vellum and the edge of some of the paper just to add a little more texture and interest to the layers. I'd created quite a tight cluster, which wasn't really working for me, so you can see there's one of my fails. It wouldn't tear, so now I've got a really torn bottom edge, which means I need to trim the blue piece because it was too tight. So much faffing. I'm going to bring the other side of that doily into both sides there. And trying again with the hearts. I knew I wanted to put something in that top corner, but the heart just wasn't working the way I was hoping it would. I do love those vellum hearts, so they're so gorgeous. I saw Sophie's video this morning on how Sophie used them, and they look gorgeous on her layout. I love that. I'm choosing one of the clips that came in the kit there, and I know I'm going to do some stamping, so I decide to get the stamp out and then realise I haven't actually stuck my photo down, so I get the foam tape out, which is actually another fail because of where I want my title to go. Propping them up on foam tape actually means that I need to add foam to my title, which was, yeah, it took forever. Oh my gosh, cutting foam tape into tiny skinny little pieces. Yeah, that wasn't one of my smartest moves. So I'm just grabbing the sticker sheet and the thickers that came in. I think the thickers came in the TSK kit. Now, as I said, I was born in the 80s, but I was pretty young. So I will confess that I went to I googled 80s phrases, and Bombdigity came up, and I thought, yeah, that's going to work just fine. And just using the letter stickers from the poolside sticker sheet to spell out "You're the." I'm not sure if that's the correct usage of the term Bombdigity, but I'm going with it. And as you can see, I stick my letters down there and then realise that the rest of them are way off, so I have to put foam. And I'm going to cut this bit out because it took me about a year to cut enough foam to stick underneath them. And then I stick my little letters down and realise that they look ridiculous. Because again, half of them have to be propped up, and I was kind of hoping that it would work, and it didn't, so I have to pull them all up and put foam behind those too. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that took me forever. So if you're going to prop your photos up on foam, think about your title. That's my advice. Anyway, finally got those stuck on foam and in place. I'm just having a look through to see where I want to go next. Whenever I sit down to create a layout, the odds are I've got no idea what I'm doing, where I'm going with it, and I never have any sort of idea as to what I'm going to create when I sit down. So it always comes as a bit of a surprise to me too. So if I seem quite fiddly and like I'm faffing over a layout, it's because I don't know what I'm doing. More or less. You are literally seeing it as it comes to me, so I'd love to be one of those people who pre-plans it and they're just, oh. But even when I try to pre-plan, and I do have, I try, the layout never ever ends up looking like what I had in my head. Never ever. Anyway, I'm just grabbing the Avery L geek stamp set there. I'm using the phrase, you're adorkable, because that's one of my favourite stamp sets, because my husband and I are incredibly geeky and proud. I'm just using the fossilised amber there to bring the colour back through in the stamping. But yeah, if any of you have any tips for starting with an idea and actually finishing with that same idea, I would love to hear them. Because oh my gosh, I just can't do it. I just can't. So I'm just using the heart again from the Avery L stamp set there to add a sort of graffiti feel to it, or at least that's how it feels to me. Just opening the beautiful, beautiful pink stickers from 7 paper. Just popping the tiny word stickers on there. They are gorgeous. I love those stickers. They're such a beautiful shade of pink. I think about using the blue enamel dots, which are stunning. I love those. But I didn't have any blue on the layout, so I decided not to add that colour in and to just grab a few from my stash that were in the neon colours. I'm just using some of the gold pieces from that thicker sheet to bring the gold elsewhere from the title. And what you don't see is the next fail, which is me using my craft knife to grab the enamel dots, as ever. I always do this, but for some reason this time I stabbed myself in the finger just off camera. So you'll see I'm holding my finger up. It's because I was bleeding and trying not to bleed onto the beautiful white layout, as ever. So that was another fail in this one. See? Karma. Never say, ever, that you don't make mistakes, because inevitably you will start making them all of the time. So I'm just using a MoMA Muji, I think it's called, journaling pen, thanks to Jen Show, I think her name is. She recommended those and they are in fact awesome, really, really awesome pens. I'm really glad I bought them. I'm just adding some journaling. I thought it needed a sort of frame just to draw the eye in. It felt like there was too much white space around such a bright piece. I'm just doing my lovely spider scroll and adding some rough lines, which is one of my favourite things to do because it makes my rough scroll look like it was meant to be that way. A little more stamping. I'm just actually adding some cross lines to my frame, my drawn frame. I don't know why I like to do that. I'm adding some water to the Dina Wakley paint to add some splatters. And I'm going to add splatters in just about every colour, I think. I do add quite a lot. This is black, it's just some fountain pen ink, I think. The obligatory Heidi Shine. If you watch Adele, you'll know what that is. And that's the Heidi Swap Colour Shine in gold. And some picked raspberry. And now I'm going to make another mistake. There, right there, I smear the picked raspberry. So I try and see if the stencil will cover it and realise that I look really stupid. And I'm cursing myself a little bit at this point, so I decided to use a tiny word sticker down at the bottom, and I had another one up the top just to add a sense of symmetry. And I use a, excuse me, my voice is going, a tiny enamel dot and a asterisk from the thicker set, and add the same up the top just to add the symmetry. And that's all done. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!